I want to share something that took a long time for me to understand. For years, I blamed a lot of things for where I was. Sometimes it was circumstances, sometimes it was timing, sometimes those things were legitimate. But eventually, I realized that there was one person that I wasn't asking enough questions about myself. And that wasn't easy because self examinations are uncomfortable. But it turned out to be one of the most freeing experiences of my life. It's surprisingly easy to explain why life isn't where we want it to be. We're busy. The economy is difficult. We didn't get the opportunity somebody else had. We made mistakes. People let us down. Maybe life just isn't fair. But here's one thing, some of those explanations are absolutely true. Life isn't fair. People do disappoint us. Circumstances really can be difficult. But after acknowledging all of that, I realized something. None of those explanations were writing the next chapter of my life. I was. There was a period where I started asking myself one question every time I became frustrated. What part of this belongs to me? And at first, I didn't like the question because sometimes the answer was more than I wanted it to be. Maybe I didn't prepare enough. Maybe I waited too long. Maybe I avoided a difficult conversation. Maybe I've been hoping the problem would solve itself, just hoping it would just go away. And those realizations weren't fun, but they were incredibly useful because once I saw my part, I could actually do something about it. I've come to believe that the mirror is one of the best or greatest teachers in life. Not because it tells you what you want to hear, but because it tells you what you need to hear. You see, the mirror doesn't negotiate, it doesn't flatter, it simply reflects reality. I've started treating self reflection the same way. Instead of asking, how do I defend myself? I ask, what can I learn about myself? And that shift has changed almost every area of my life. Building Black Logic Media requires a lot of mirror moments. There have been videos that just didn't perform well, a lot of them. Ideas that weren't as strong as I thought, projects that took a lot longer than I expected them to take. And it would have been easy to blame the algorithm. It's all YouTube's fault. Or I could blame timing. or I can blame the audience. Sometimes those things mattered, but the question that helped me grow was different. How can I become better? And that's the question that's helped me keep moving forward. And one thing that I've noticed is that responsibility is incredibly honest. It doesn't exaggerate your failures. It doesn't ignore your strengths. It simply asks you to see yourself clearly. And that's actually one of the reasons I think responsibility is so helpful. Because if I'm honest about where I am, I can begin improving. If I spend all my energy pretending, then nothing changes. I've learned that the strongest people that I know aren't the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who admit them quickly. They don't waste energy protecting their ego. They'd rather just protect their future. And I think that is wisdom. Because every mistake honestly acknowledged becomes an opportunity for growth. Every mistake defended usually becomes a habit. Here's something that I would encourage you to do this week. The next time something doesn't go your way, before explaining it to anyone else, before telling somebody else why it didn't work out for you, just sit quietly for a few minutes and then ask yourself, what can I learn about myself from this? Not how can I blame myself? That's a different question. It's not the same. But what can I learn about myself? When you blame yourself, it produces guilt. But when you try to learn about yourself, that's what produces growth. Choose growth. I've come to believe that responsibility begins with honesty. Honesty about circumstances, honesty about strengths, honesty about weaknesses, and maybe most importantly, honesty about our next step. Because the moment that we're honest with ourselves, we become capable of changing ourselves. And that's where real responsibility begins. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. I'll see you on the next conversation.